This is the Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel and Steve Mr. Magic Carfino. Brought to you by Unibet, TCL Plex, and News Corp. What they gonna say next?
Hello and welcome to the Basketball Show, brought to you by, of course, our partners Unibet, TCL, and News Corp Australia. Before we get into the thick of the show, I'd like to remind everybody that we've all been affected by the coronavirus, and it's important, regardless of what you think of the procedures that have been put in place, you respect the health of yourself as well as others. And if you're having any symptoms of fever or trouble breathing, make sure you get yourself checked out. So let's get into the show as I welcome my co-host Shane Heel. Everything's been affected, especially the NBL games with no crowd.
This is the line. Do not cross it, mate. 1.5 meters, because I respect the process. But how good? Empty stadiums, okay, not great for fans and everything, but big challenge. I did it 3 times in Greece for different reasons, because in Greece, the fans play up, there's riots and flares and all the rest of it, throwing coins, so they suspend the crowds, and you play in an empty stadium. And I couldn't believe it the first time I did it, because I used to love playing in front of people and getting energy from the crowd as well. And then when you're playing on the road, you used to love being able to quieten down the crowd. I know you were the same. So it was really weird playing in front of an empty stadium. And I think these guys have done a good job of being able to adjust to be able to bring their effort game in, game out, no matter who's in the stadium.
Yeah, Rodney O, the courtside announcer for the Sydney Kings, showing you the empty building. The voice, the empty building that they're about to play in. And I was surprised at the caliber of the game. I mean, Bryce Cotton was amazing. The Sydney Kings somehow stayed in the game. They had some big runs by Brad Newley. They had some big shots by Kevin Lish, and obviously Zabe Cooks on the offensive glass. But Perth have been phenomenal.
It was interesting, though, because in Game 2 in Perth, it was Sydney that had all the energy. They came out with a pop. Their bench was engaged. They were up. You could hear it from the TV. In Game 3 on the road, again, that was Perth that were able to bring that energy right from the start. So I think both teams have done really well on the road.
This is the Starting Five, brought to you by TCL Plex smartphones.
TCL are bringing Starting Five, and let's start off with that hot man in Game 3, Nick Kay. And he's been hot. I believe he watches the show, because he's been hot ever since we called him out and said he's got to do more. He just can't go out there and get 12 points and 6 rebounds. He is an Australian star, and he's playing like it now.
Well, I think we said halfway through the year that we love him. We've always been big fans, but always felt that he was capable of being a superstar. And he's gone on to have 30 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. He plays with so much poise. He does really smart things as well, just the things that he won't get stats for. He's a game winner. He really has been exceptional so far in this series, and what a right-hand man to the superstar in Bryce Cotton he's been.
Oh, he's been amazing. I'll say it quickly, but, you know, like, you can tell when someone is feeling it. Nick Kay usually just takes advantages of opportunities when they present themselves, but there was one where he caught it as a trailer in rhythm and knocked that 3 down, and I was like, he's on fire.
Well, he hit 7 threes, 7 from 9. I mean, for the majority of his career, he would never have taken 7 threes or even thought about taking 7 threes. So, you know, I called it during the call yesterday that he is the MVP of all the Australian players so far this year, and he's bringing his best at the money time of the season.
Yeah, no doubt. He's been a pleasure to watch, and a pleasure to watch was Derek Rucker when he was the most valuable player of the league when he came in his rookie season for the Brisbane Bullets, and he's talking about who he believes is the best all-time player, who is not the best all-time player.
Let's check it out.
Shane, there's been a lot of discussion about all-time great imports in the NBL. And look, Bryce Cotton is coming to this conversation recently, and I have no doubt that one day he'll be in the top 5 if he continues on this path. But right now, he is not even the top Wildcat import of all time. In fact, I have him 3rd behind Ricky Grace and James Crawford. So there's no way he could be the all-time greatest import, because that goes to Leroy Loggins. Leroy Loggins was a two-way wonder. He could defend on the ball. He could defend off the ball, steals, block shots, intimidation. Leroy had it all, and that was just on the defensive end. Offensively, he was one of the most clutch players of all time. He delivered plays, he delivered daggers when his teams needed it most. He could shoot the 3, 6'6", left-handed, could back you down, post you up. Leroy had a full game, unlike anyone has in this NBL currently. And look, Right now, I have him the second greatest player in NBL history, just behind Andrew Gaze. What do you think about that, Shane?
Yeah.
Well, what do I think about that, Derek? Well, I think we had this segment last week, and it created a lot of talk on social media. And we also had Leroy Loggins as the greatest import to play the game. So we agree on that. What I don't agree with D on is that Bryce Cotton, he's already in the top 5. The only thing that puts him sort of in that conversation of maybe not being is just that he's only been here for his 4th year. But his success of what he's been able to do in big games, winning championships, winning MVPs, and watching him live, he's incredible at how he can move without the ball, create something out of nothing. Yesterday they had 3 players on him, and he still found a way to either get it to his teammate for a hockey assist or an assist, or make a massive shot under pressure. He is a freak, and there is no doubt he has the opportunity, if he continues to play like this for years on end, to be the best import in the league. But right now, he's in the conversation a lot higher than our man D-Ruck is giving him credit for.
Well, even though he didn't ask me, he said, "What do you think of that, Shane?" I'm going to give him my opinion anyway.
I'm asking.
Yeah, okay. I thought the one thing that I didn't agree with Derek was when he said, if he keeps going like this, he could be a top 5. Yeah.
Come on, man.
If he keeps going like this,
he's already top 5.
Yeah, he's either 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Really. If he keeps going like this, he's either 1 or 2.
And I played 5 years with Leroy. I love Leroy. Leroy's a superstar, and he is right there. But Bryce is coming for him, I'm telling you, if he keeps up this effort.
All right, Derek Rucker, he loves the controversy, and he's bringing it on Twitter as
love
well. And, what was he talking about? The Boomers right here. Look at that. You can read it right there. Boomer or Australian. If you haven't made an Australian team or the World Championship team as an Australian, you shouldn't be considered a Boomer. I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he said.
Yeah, and Jason Kadee had a little bit to say about it, because Jason Kadee's played forever as a Boomer, but hasn't been to a World Cup or an Olympic Games. So I understand what Dee's saying, and I sort of agree with it, but those guys have played a critical role leading up to those events, now knowing that most of our key guys are playing in the NBA. So there's certainly, a difference between the haves and have-nots. I'm not sure we'd take away the fact that they're a Boomer because of it, though.
Yeah, and I think it's also one of those things like, okay, if you haven't played in the NBA, you can't criticize an NBA player. And if you haven't played for the Boomers, I don't know if you can go that hard on representing your country, what it means for these guys, the sacrifices they make and getting to the training camps. I think they deserve to be called Boomers.
And I think they're Boomers, but you become an Olympian or somebody that's been to a World Cup. That's where it sort of differentiates.
Yeah, so they don't claim to be Olympians, or they don't claim to be making world championship teams. All right, let's talk about the next stars, Australian next stars, and they're just getting younger and younger. And it's like, LaMelo Ball, there was like a big gap between LaMelo Ball and the Australian stars. But just like everything else, it's really starting to even out.
Well, and the NBL's done a good job to be able to go after these kids. We're talking about, obviously, Josh Giddey, and we're talking about King, who has gone to Cairns. And those guys have made the decision rather than going to college. So this is a really good recruit for the NBL. What level are they going to be able to play at will be really interesting for me. Josh Giddey, I think, has got the opportunity to play in the NBA, but how far down the track? It's going to be tough for him coming in as an 17, 18-year-old kid playing against men that they're going after him. So I'm not sure what sort of expectations as far as minutes and what sort of roles and everything else. A bit of talk about Adam Capehorn being the coach for the Adelaide 36ers, which makes sense because Josh Giddey, you would think, wouldn't have signed a couple of weeks ago without knowing who the coach is, and that Capehorn was his coach at the Centre of Excellence. You would have thought. Yeah,
no, you wouldn't go to a colleges are recruiting you all over the country in America. You wouldn't go to a school that hadn't announced their coach yet.
No.
Definitely, nothing like that. All right, well, NBA players have had to make adjustments with the coronavirus out there and them suspending the play in the NBA. Very interesting how some of the players have gone about it.
No. My new hobby.
Giannis, the Greek Freak, was the first one, but I didn't even really know who I know he was disguised pretty good. He was
very
he wasn't very well insulated.
But you would have been right, mate, because you would have been able to sing and dance. I'm not sure what I would have done if I was isolated.
I know. Well, watch
Law and Order and
okay.
KBPD.
Jack of all trades, master of none. Let's see what else we got on the show. Our courtside correspondents. I don't want to take away from you and I, but I believe I'm going to say it. This is the best part of the show. Our courtside correspondents all around Australia. First up, Derek Rucker on his spin of the NBL Finals.
With the Kings down in the Grand Finals series, the topic on all Kings fans' minds must be the play of Casper Ware, who has struggled big time in this series. And look, the Kings can help him in a number of ways. Firstly, move him off the ball a bit. They have other capable ball handlers out there in Sean Bruce and Kevin Lish who can run the offense and help get Casper some easy looks. Secondly, when Casper's on the point, play Lazada, play Newly extended minutes. Those guys are your best offensive players off of the wing, and they can make plays on their own. Thirdly, when Casper's playing the point, tell him just to relax and play more of a pure point guard role. Distribute the ball, run the offense, be a good leader out there. And look, on the defensive end, let's get him off of Bryce Cotton as much as possible. The Kings are junking it up defensively anyway, but when they're not playing that junk defense, let Lish play him, let Bruce play him, let Lazada and Newly guard him a bit. Mix it up so Cotton's not getting the same look all the time. Guys, Game 4 is going to be fantastic. Talk to you next week.
He's 60 seconds. He's the most disciplined guy we've got from around the nation. See how he just got out, bang, right on 60.
Oh, yeah.
Key. But good points too. Yeah. I agree with all of that. And Casper Ware, I was watching him before the game in warm-ups. He did not miss. And then he walked to the centre and made a shot from the centre, a jump shot. And then he ran out of the stadium, almost knocked over Luke Longley and Larry Kesselman, two of the 100 people that were in the crowd. But it was amazing because it's all in his mind. Yeah. And we've all been through these shooting slumps before. Maybe not one for 23, but we've been through shooting slumps. And he is just thinking too much about the result. Every shot he takes is like, please go in, please go in. And his technique is looking different during the game than what he was before the game.
Yeah, I think that every player has slumped in some way, shape, or form. This is a big slump. This is a big donut for Casper Ware. But you really have to work your way into having your basketball confidence build up, whether that's setting a screen, whether that's kicking the ball ahead, whether that's getting a deflection on the defensive end of the floor. Every player must get their basketball confidence up without shooting the basketball. You got to find ways to have self-belief. And I think he's just living and dying by the shot, and he's struggling.
Well, and his first shot, he came out trying to make a statement. He shot it from the logo. He shot it from more than a metre out first time. He trying to blast his way out. That's not the way he's going to be able to get out of this slump. But let's get over to Western Australia because no doubt our man Lacko will be crowing.
Well, legacy and reputation are created in big moments in big games, and there are none bigger than the NBL Finals series that we are witnessing at the moment. It's been about which team can adapt faster to the changing environment with no crowds. Who's made the necessary adjustments from game to game in a short period of time, particularly from game 2 to game 3, and then about the individual brilliance from talent that's laced through both teams. And for the Perth Wildcats, we always knew what Bryce Cotton was capable of delivering, but now we have a game for the ages and a clear defining moment for superstar and all-NBL first-team player Nick Kay. 30 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. The efficiency in what he has done over the course of 3 games, shooting the ball at 59% from the field, 54% from the three-point line, and his attempt rate has gone up from 2 to 8 per game against the Sydney Kings. Why? Because he takes the opportunities and knows when to step up in big moments when they're presented in front of him. 1 game away from clinching their 10th NBL championship, and with performances like we witnessed from Nick Kay and Bryce Cotton, it looks like it's going to be a Perth Wildcats celebration come Friday night.
Well, Nick Lakovic, obviously pretty happy there. But one thing I want to know,
he's just given it to him on Friday already, mate. Yeah. It's all over.
Yeah, but
might as well not even discuss it.
But I want to point out if he's having a competition with PK on how close he can get to the camera.
Very in depth though. I liked it. It was true, and he likes his Wildcats, but he's pretty honest with what he's got to say. I tell you, some of the Red Army though, and we respect everything Perth's done and the amount of people that support it. But aren't there some knuckleheads? There's more knuckleheads on social media from the Perth Army, Red Army, or whatever they call themselves, because there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
But gee, there's some knuckleheads too, isn't there?
Oh, I know. There's some knuckleheads. And a couple of them came up and said hello to me and wanted to take a picture of me. They said, I was the one giving you a hard time on social media. Nah, I gave them a photo. Yeah, you probably wouldn't have. Well, PK breaks it down for us down south.
You got to love the way the Perth Wildcats go about it. They've made some great adjustments. They had to face the triangle and 2. So what they do, Cotton to the weak side wing, Nick Kay to the top, players flashing through the key. All of a sudden they could move the ball wherever they wanted. The triangle and 2 got them to an extent in game 2. They only had 9 assists because their ball movement bogged down under the pressure. They make those adjustments to spread the floor. 25 dimes in game 3. Nick Kay's at the top. The weak side defender's not leaving Bryce. All of a sudden, Nick shooting wide open threes, and he nailed them. It was simple, but it was effective, and that sums up the Perth Wildcats to a T. As for the Kings, you got to love what they've done with their junk defences. It's been effective, but they could still prove me wrong. But junk defences don't win championships. They're effective for a quarter or 2, but then good opponents adjust. And I'll tell you what, twice in a row, the Kings have rolled the effective junk defense from one game into the first quarter of the next. The Wildcats have been drilling it. They've cut them apart with high-scoring openings to games. If it's effective one game, you can't roll it out the next one. You've got to adjust. I guess the last thing for the Kings, the game they won, Casper Ware shot 4 threes. It's the least he's attempted all season. He's had 19 threes in the other 2 games. He's shooting 28% all season. He's got to stop jacking them up. The Kings have got too much talent to keep going back to a guy who's not connecting. Get your looks from elsewhere. Maybe they're a chance.
Well, some great points from PK as well. Hit the mark on all of those things. And a couple of things that I wanted to elaborate on was talking about the junk D. And the Sydney Kings haven't really had any junk D for the entire year. They've really just stuck in their defence and said, this is who we are, this is what we do. The problem with that is when you get to the playoffs and you need to be able to pull different things from your menu, from your arsenal to be able to try and beat a team based on adjustments, the cupboard was bare. They went to a 2-3, they went to a triangle and 2, got results, but then just rolled that in, as PK said, and then allowed 5 days for them to be able, 2 days for them to be able to make an adjustment. Trevor Gleeson was always going to make an adjustment. And then there was no other adjustment ready. So it seems like Will Weaver will make an adjustment between games, but in games, doesn't really make too many at all.
Yeah, I mean, he really just sticks with it. He talked about that defense that helps and clogs up the middle. They've been sticking with that. Then when teams were able to beat them, they went on that slide where they lost 5 games out of 7, and they made some adjustments then. But like you said, no real adjustments during the game. And you listen to the huddles of other teams, and you're watching them design plays. It just doesn't happen.
No.
Yeah, simple as that.
It's time now for the Unibet game preview. Who's hot? Who's not?
Yeah, it's time to break out the Unibet game preview. And when I say a game preview, I'm thinking it's going to be one game because we're talking about game 4 of Perth Wildcats and Sydney Kings. And
You're saying Perth at home?
I'm saying Perth at home, all over Red Rover. You think Sydney will get them?
I don't think they will get them, but they're a chance. I'm not writing them off.
I'm not writing them off.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout. I'm not saying that Sydney are a terrible team. I just think Perth are the better team right now.
To me, it comes down to mindset. If Sydney go with that same mindset and they're engaged right from the start, like they were in Perth only a few days ago, they've got the most talent in the league. For me, it's going to come down to subbing and the game plan from Will Weaver. I thought in Game 3, Brad Newley was firing. He had 16 points, 4 minutes to go before the half in Sydney. No one else was really able to put points on the board. Out. He finished with 19. We've said this over and over for the entire season when guys for the Sydney Kings have got rolling and then they get benched. Sometimes Will Weaver can become the best defensive player on his own players.
They used to say that about Kelly Tripucka when he was playing at Notre Dame. They said the only person that could keep him under 20 was Digger Phelps, his coach.
Well, I see that happening, and momentum is such a big thing, and confidence is such a big thing, particularly in these games. And you see what Trevor Gleeson's been able to do with Bryce Cotton. He will play him as many minutes as he can, but he'll give him 60 to 90 seconds break, put it in with a timeout so he gets extended minutes, and then put him back out there, and it's like he winds him up, and he just goes. It's been unbelievable with that mindset. So they're going to have to come up with some sort of solutions about Nick Kay and also Bryce Cotton, 2 superstars. Watch out if Tariko White actually engages.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's been nothing. Everyone said for the whole season, you listen to Red Army. And we've said, he's the MVP from last grand final series, and he has laid an egg. But watch out, we know he's capable. Someone just has to be able to poke him and wake him up. He looks like he's asleep.
Yeah, don't forget about Miles Plumlee, too. He came out in Game 3,
He was good.
and he was aggressive, and they just, Steindl can pick it up. So the Perth Wildcats have a lot of guys, a lot of weapons that are ready to step up.
Yeah, you'd have to say you have to favour the Perth Wildcats to win that game.
Yeah.
I just think, I've said it in all of those games, I really think it's a flip of the coin. Comes down to the mindset, and I just can't wait. I think it's going to be a great game. We don't need the crowd there to be able to create some great basketball, because I don't think not having the crowd has had any effect on the quality of these games.
It's been great.
Sensational. Obviously, would have been more atmosphere with people in the stadium, but been some quality.
Yeah, it sure has. And this has been quality. That's all the time we have for on the show. Remember, you can subscribe to Apple Podcasts. We've got one more show, so don't miss that. Thank our sponsors, Unibet, TCL, and News Corp Australia. A shout out to Adam Reynolds, the new captain.
My guy.
Yep, that's right. He was playing on your team in the celebrity game where you guys got a victory. He's a new captain of the Rabbitohs.
Loves his basketball, but how good was he in the rugby league? Well done. Good on
Okay.
you.
We'll see you next time for our final show.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.